Over the years, our family's had a share of health problems.
So prescriptions are a part of our life.
Before we went to the big box store.
We both thought it would help us save. But with the long lines and impersonal service, filling prescriptions became a chore. That's when a friend recommended D&H.
Now Tristan knows our prescriptions. Brenda always helps us find the right vitamins. And after Dad's fall, Monica's been a real expert with all our home medical needs. All without the lines.
Trust and service.
That's our D&H.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends. This is Thursday, it's December the 20th, and we've got a really special segment today. I hope you will, if you can, stop what you're doing and listen to this. Jennifer Baggett is with us from Boone Hospital.
Hi.
Good to have you here, Jennifer.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
And you are a palliative care nurse at
Yes.
Boone. You've been an RN for, what?
18 years.
18 years. And actually, you're filling in for Doreen Martin, who is sick today, but she was going to be on. And I was talking to Doreen, and I wanted her to come on and share some beautiful stories that she had in working with people who in palliative care and people who are dying. This is a time of year when many of us become extremely sentimental if we have lost someone close to us in our life. You get into the holidays. Mm-hmm. And I felt it was important to have someone like you or Doreen come on and share some of these beautiful stories, show that it doesn't end. It doesn't end at death. That spirit goes on. What have you got for us today?
Well, I personally believe it doesn't end, that the spirit goes on. It's just so interesting, and I've learned so much working with the dying patients, not only from their loved ones who don't want them to go and leave this earth, but from the patients themselves. They're chronically ill and they're at end of life, and we're doing everything just to keep them comfortable and to help them transition into the dying process. And so we as palliative care nurses, Doreen and I, really have a gift that these patients give us. They give us the gift of letting us into their sacred personal space with them and their loved ones as they pass on. And it truly is a gift. So we do talk a lot about fears of dying that the patients might have and concerns they may have. And most of the time the patients, honestly, I would say the majority of the time, the patients aren't afraid of dying. Some are, but what their fears is around their family members and their loved ones that they are going to be leaving behind. So
that's what we were talking about
right.
Before we started the segment.
Yeah, but one thing that is just truly special is, and we educate the families on what to expect and signs and symptoms of end of life, because we don't want the families to be afraid if their loved one exhibits something that only someone at end of life will exhibit. So we teach them about the medical part. And one of the symptoms that we always share is that they might actually see their loved ones that have already passed. So they'll start conversing with, the patient hasn't died yet, but they'll start conversing with people who have passed. And we just don't want to frighten the family. But they do. They see loved ones a lot of times that have already died.
And this is my personal feeling. This is not hallucination. This is actually happening, where the loved ones have come to help ease that
right.
dying person into the transition that they have to make.
Right. And wow, what a gift.
Exactly. And what's so special is the fact that people like you and Doreen see this firsthand. I want you to share the story that you started to tell me about the lady who is still alive.
This lady didn't die, but I had this wonderful lady that I met who I was getting her ready for surgery. She was getting ready to have a surgical procedure, and after I put her IV in and we were doing all the paperwork to get her ready, she said, "By the way, I want to let you know that I died last time I had surgery." And I said, "Oh, well, tell me about this," because I truly am I've always been intrigued as a nurse to hear these stories, because I've worked in the ICU many years and have heard from some people that have died. They said that they believe, to heaven and come back.
Okay.
And so that's a different story. But this lady said that she was on the operating table, and then she remembers suddenly she just got off the table and she walked out into the operating waiting room and saw her family in there waiting. And then before she knew it, she said she was in another place, and she described it, she believes it was heaven. And so she said that it was just the most beautiful place. She did not see any people there, but she remembers hearing the waters, the brooks, the beautiful trees, the grass, the flowers. But what she described that I'll never forget, and I've heard many people say this, is the colors were just undescribable, that they're unlike any color our human eye have ever seen. And the peace that they feel when they're there. They always say that, always talk about the peace. So she said the next she remembers is she was back in the waiting room, walked past her family, but she said her family didn't see her. And she walked back into the operating room and sat back up on the table, and she laid right back down.
Into her body.
Into her body.
And she made it through that operation?
She made it through,
okay.
yeah. And I gave her a big hug after.
Yes.
But I just remember her telling me this, and I just was I remember I had tears in my eyes, and I just felt it was such a gift that she shared with me.
Yes.
So we do share very intimate moments with our patients.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And when you hear stories like that, it is heartwarming. It's heartwarming. I was telling you just briefly, we don't have a lot of time. We could do a whole half hour on this. My mother died many years ago, but on the morning that she was going to die, she died at 12:15, but that morning, she was in bed. She couldn't really talk anymore. She had head and neck cancer, but she was motioning to something above her bed as if she was talking to people there. And the first thing I thought of, that she was seeing my father, who had died 13 years before, or my grandmother. So I started naming all of these people who had passed on before. It wasn't any of them. Finally, I was a bit frustrated, and I said, "Mom, are these good people?" And she shook her head yes, because she couldn't speak. I said, "Are they here to help you?" Again, she shook her head yes. And then angels popped into my head. I said, "Are they angels?" Yes. She nodded, yes, it was. I said, "Where are they?" And she was pointing up above her bed. They were there to help her in her passing that day.
I believe that with all my heart.
And that's a wonderful feeling. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming by and sharing. If people want more information, phone number to call, or they can just contact Palliative Care at Boone Hospital.
Palliative Care at Boone Hospital Center.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure visiting with you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Pet Health Tips Tomorrow, Salvation Army. Our program directed by Travis McMillen, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers, KBIA. Our floor director, Eric Staszczak, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mouser. Bye-bye.